She thought she was just helping someone on a bad night. She had no idea that, only days later, her name would be connected to a secret that should never have surfaced. What seemed like a simple act of kindness would end up changing her life in a way she could never undo. This is a story about compassion, hesitation, and a truth that revealed itself when it was already too late to walk away without consequences. Marina was 34 years old and lived a quiet, predictable life. She worked at a small office where days passed slowly between spreadsheets, repetitive emails, and conversations that never went beyond polite small talk. She lived alone in a modest downtown apartment, where the constant noise of traffic at night reminded her that the world kept moving, whether she felt part of it or not. She wasn't unhappy, but she wasn't happy either. It was the kind of life that doesn't hurt, but slowly fades into routine. Her days followed the same pattern with unsettling precision. Wake up early, commute, work, return home. Marina had accepted the idea that some people simply move through life without dramatic turning points, without moments that divide life into before and after. At least, that's what she believed until that week. The city was going through a difficult period. The news spoke of economic collapse, mass layoffs, and companies quietly closing their doors. The streets felt more crowded, but not with energy, only with uncertainty. Marina started noticing unfamiliar faces sleeping on sidewalks, asking for help at traffic lights, waiting for something that might never come. Most of the time, she looked away, not because she didn't care, but because looking too closely made her feel powerless. That night, as she left work, the air was colder than usual. Streetlights reflected off the wet pavement, and the subway entrance felt colder and more impersonal than ever. That's when she noticed him. A man was sitting on the sidewalk, leaning against a wall, covered in old advertisements peeling at the edges. He wasn't asking for money. He wasn't trying to get attention. He was simply there, as if the city had forgotten him. His clothes were worn, his face exhausted, and his eyes distant, fixed on nothing in particular. Marina slowed her steps. She considered walking past him. She told herself it wasn't her responsibility, but for a brief moment, too short to ignore, his eyes met hers. There was no request. No dramatic plea, just deep, unmistakable exhaustion, and that was what made her stop. Marina approached carefully and asked if he needed anything. The man hesitated, as if weighing whether trust was still something he could afford. She offered water, then food. He accepted silently, his movements slow, careful, almost apologetic. When she asked his name, he answered quietly, "Daniel," then looked away as if the word carried weight. They didn't talk much. Daniel avoided speaking about his past and answered only what was necessary. Still, something about him felt restrained rather than threatening. As the night grew colder and the street gradually emptied, Marina felt an unease settle in her chest. Acting on impulse, she made a decision she would never make on a normal evening. She offered him a place to stay for the night. On the way to her apartment, Marina questioned herself again and again. She imagined worst-case scenarios. She thought about turning back, about making an excuse, about pretending she never offered anything. But she didn't stop walking. Inside the apartment, Daniel kept his distance. He sat quietly near the door, as if afraid to take up space. He thanked her more times than seemed necessary, almost as if he expected the situation to disappear if he acknowledged it too much. Marina tried to act calm, but her nervousness followed her into every movement. During the night, she woke up to faint sounds from the living room. Soft footsteps, the careful opening of a drawer, then its slow closing. Marina lay still in bed, her heart racing as her thoughts spiraled. She considered locking the door. She thought about calling someone. She imagined how easily things could go wrong, but she stayed where she was. Eventually, the silence returned, heavy and unsettling, and the night passed without incident. By morning, Daniel was already preparing to leave. He looked ashamed, restless, as if staying any longer would only deepen his discomfort. He thanked her again, picked up his backpack, and left quickly. He didn't say where he was going. He didn't promise to come back. Marina closed the door behind him and stood there for a moment, breathing deeply. She felt relief and convinced herself that whatever risk she had taken was now behind her. But it wasn't. 2 days later, while getting ready for work, Marina turned on the television out of habit, barely paying attention. A breaking news alert interrupted the program, reporting on a major financial scandal. When the image appeared on the screen, her stomach tightened. It was Donio, the same man who had slept in her apartment. The report said he was wanted by the police, accused of stealing money from hundreds of people. Marina turned off the television immediately. Her thoughts raced. She tried to breathe, tried to regain control, but fear settled in and refused to leave. Over the following days, Marina lived in constant tension. Every sound in the hallway felt like someone approaching her door. Every siren outside made her flinch. She rehearsed explanations in her head, imagining questions no one had asked yet. She thought about going to the police, but fear stopped her every time. What if they didn't believe her? What if they assumed she was involved? The silence became heavier than any accusation. A week later, there was a knock at her door. Marina froze. Her heart raced before she even moved. When she finally opened it, it wasn't the police standing there. It was Daniel. He looked different, thinner, more exhausted, as if the weight of being hunted had finally caught up to him. He said he needed to talk. He said he had nowhere else to go. Marina hesitated, knowing exactly how dangerous the decision could be. But against all logic, she stepped aside and let him in. Daniel told his story slowly. He admitted the scheme existed, but insisted he wasn't a mastermind. He was the easiest name to sacrifice. When he tried to expose those truly responsible, he was silenced. He lost his job, his home, and everyone he trusted. He became a headline before he became a criminal. The night Marina met him on the street, he had already lost everything. Marina listened without interrupting. Each word added weight to the choice now in front of her. She could close the door and erase him from her life, or she could help again, knowing it might cost her the fragile stability she still had. She spent the night awake, thinking, questioning herself, deciding who she would be once morning came. The next day, Marina made her choice. She contacted an investigative journalist, known for pursuing dangerous stories to the end. She shared everything: names, dates, patterns, details she barely understood herself. The article took weeks to be published. When it finally appeared, the impact was immediate. The scandal was far larger than anyone expected, reaching powerful business figures, respected politicians, and people once thought untouchable. Daniel's name was eventually cleared, but Marina paid a price. She lost her job. She was judged by coworkers and acquaintances. Some avoided her entirely. Others whispered. A few called her reckless. Very few understood why she did what she did. Months later, Marina walked down the same street where everything had begun. The same sidewalk, the same cold lights. This time, she kept walking. Not because she lacked compassion, but because she had learned that in an unfair world, doing the right thing doesn't always bring applause. Sometimes, it only brings the quiet peace of knowing you didn't turn your back on the truth. Some stories don't end happily. They end honestly. And maybe those are the stories that stay with us the longest.